All right, welcome to Matters of the Heart. Today we are discussing an interesting topic. Can a lady shoot her shot? Recently, I heard a preacher raise this issue, and he was of the opinion that though there is no scriptural prohibition of a lady shooting her shot, but that going by biblical patterns or philosophy of scriptures, as it were, I can't really recall his exact words, that it is not um, advisable for a lady to shoot her shots. According to him, patterns in the Bible do not suggest that. Well, my position is this: as much as patterns in the Bible do not suggest that, patterns in the Bible do not invalidate that. Yes, and we must understand that there is a historical perspective to the Bible. The Bible is not only the Bible as it were, all right, is also a book of history. It's not just a book of doctrine, it is also a book of history. So we should not mistake the historical part of scripture for the doctrinal part of scripture. We should not mistake portions of scripture that serve historical purposes to 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 establish doctrine, or to capitalize on them to pursue doctrinal purpose, right? We should also understand that the Bible also has a cultural flavor, so we should not mistake the cultural part of scripture for the doctrinal part of scripture. Yes, most of the, if you look at scripture, most of the stories in scripture revolve around, especially in the Old Testament, revolve around Israel and the Jewish nation. Israel and the Jewish nation, in the sense that even when the plot is not exactly Israel, it involved the Jewish nation. I know the Jewish nation is like a mobile nation. I mean, they were in captivity in Egypt at some point. At some point, they were in Babylon. So both their history as a nation and their culture as an ethnic nationality must find expression in scripture. So if we import everything hook, line and sinker, it may not augur well, especially for people in this other part of the world. I mean, I'm in Africa, so there are cultural differences. Little wonder Apostle Paul said, when I go to Rome, I behave like the Romans. So we should understand that there is a cultural perspective to the administration of the gospel, and we should respect that. Otherwise, it may even hinder the gospel. Now, back to what the focus of this discourse is. Is it wrong for a lady to shoot her shot? The answer is no. There is nothing in scripture forbidding it. Even the so-called patterns in scripture, it does not forbid. No, no, like I said, the historical part of scripture, the historicity of scripture is such that it is written with the cultural flavor of Israel, which is a patrilineal society. Yes, but there are cultures that are matrilineal. For instance, in the UK, the queen, until she died anyways, until she died recently, was the head of the entire United Kingdom. So imagine that you now want to impose the patrilineal flavor of the historical part of scripture on the United Kingdom. You will lose souls there. You will not have believers there. In fact, they may reject the entire Bible, because all through scripture, the kings we see in scripture are male kings. Yes, of course, you may talk of Deborah and all of that. Those are judges. And then how many instances like Deborah? For the bulk of it, they were male kings. So if we want to follow that strictly, then the people in the United Kingdom may not accept scriptures. So we should not mix these things. There is no portion of scripture that forbids a lady from shooting her shot. We should not mix it. Some preachers make that mistake of making it sound like it is a law. There's no doctrinal position on that. And we should understand that doctrine is Christocentric. All right, the essence of doctrine is to establish Christ in us, that Christ may be formed in us. Yes, all scripture is given by inspiration of God, profitable for doctrine, for reproof, for instruction in righteousness, that the man of God may be perfect, thoroughly furnished unto all good works. So doctrine, the focus of doctrine is Christology, as it were, not things like relationship, dating and all of that. No, these are non-essentials, because in the first place, marriage is not compulsory. There's no portion of scripture that makes marriage compulsory. So that means the shooting of shots, whether by a woman or by a man, is also a non-essential. It is not the focus of doctrine. The focus of doctrine is Christ and him crucified. So we should not make doctrines out of these things. It is an open-ended thing. If you, as a lady, if you see a guy you like, you want to shoot your shot, fine. There are societies where it is the women that marry the men. The men are like the housewives, but let's call them house husbands. And the women are the ones that are the breadwinners. They go out, they fend. There are societies like that. And in some of those societies, the women marry more than one man. Yes. So what do you say about that? If you say it is forbidden, so when you go to evangelize to people in that nation, how do you go about it? So we should not make a law where God has not made one. There is no such position in scripture. What a lot of people will use to argue that it is wrong for a lady to shoot her shot is the scripture that says, therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother and shall cleave to his wife, and they shall be one flesh. Now that scripture is just establishing the man and the wife being one as against the man and his parents. In other words, upon marriage, your relationship with your wife becomes quote and unquote superior to your relationship with your parents. Yes, your relationship with your wife quote and unquote takes priority over your relationship with your parents. That's what he's talking about. No undue attachments. I'm not saying you should not relate to your parents. I mean undue attachments as per influence, such that you cannot take any decision in your home without your parents involved. No, that umbilical cord has to be cut. That's what that scripture is talking about. It's not necessarily saying that it's a law that the man must be the one to make the move. What that scripture means is, once there is a marriage, that marriage becomes a unit of its own, separate from the units from where the both persons came into that new unit. Are you getting the point at all? So even if a woman shoots her shot and it leads to marriage, once there is a marriage, there should be a disconnection from undue attachment to parents. That's what that scripture means. It's not communicating any doctrinal position as to the propriety or otherwise of a man or a woman being the one who shoots the shot. So young lady, if you see a man you like, one thing ladies should understand is that not all men are bold. No matter how you look at it, there are some men who are not bold. There are some men, instead of them to open their mouth to talk to a lady, they would rather be single and just continue like that. And imagine that such a man is a good man. Such a man is a man that can help you fulfill destiny, fulfill purpose. So why would you let him sleep? If you see a man you like, you can make the move, you can shoot the shot. Yes. And then he can take the lead from there. In any event too, if you have leadership capacity and he doesn't, and he is born again, he's fit, suitable for your destiny, and he's comfortable with you taking the lead while he plays the second fiddle comfortably for you, by all means, please. Yes, just what a home needs is leadership. Yes. And I'm not advocating irresponsibility on the part of men, but there are some people, by their fabrication, that is just who they are, and trying to get them to change is a whole waste of time. All right, so young lady, I say again, if you see a man you like, shoot your shot if you want to. Yes, and you should bear in mind that as a lady, your biological clock is faster than that of the man. So don't get old trying to be following man-made laws. Please don't get old. A man can wake up at 50 and decide then that that's when he wants to. But you, for a lady, is not that way. So if you see any good one, my friend, if you have the move to make a good move, make it. Yes, another way is you could strategically position like Ruth did. Right, Naomi advised her about how to go about with Boaz, and she positioned herself in a way that he will see him. We call that strategic positioning. You can do that if you feel it's an abomination for you to shoot the shot. But if you have that boldness, by all means, please go ahead. By all means, righteous. By all means, not ungodly. I hope you understand what I mean. All right, so it's good I qualify that. So please feel free to shoot your shot and shoot well. God bless you.